Fieldhouse.
Listen, this is one of the great stories, not only in women's basketball. This is one of the great stories globally.
What happens when a 5'8" guard faces off against players who tower almost 2 feet above him? In this video, we're looking at the exact moment Yuki Kawamura, the shortest player in the NBA preseason, left even Caitlin Clark stunned with a pass that nobody saw coming. You might think height is everything in basketball, but wait until you see how this Japanese point guard turned his size into his secret weapon. The way he connected with 7'4", Edey had everyone in the arena jumping out of their seats. And trust me, you're gonna want to see this one. Remember all those doubters who said a 5'8" guard would never cut it in the NBA?
Cleveland almost came up with a steal.
Ben Shepherd last year, 4.5 points, just 31% from three-point range. What a pass.
They hadn't met Yuki Kawamura. This guy was lighting up Japan's B-League with passes that had fans grabbing their phones to record every time he touched the ball. But here's the thing, NBA scouts kept walking right past him. Too small, they said, not strong enough for the NBA game. But Kawamura wasn't listening to any of that noise. He was too busy perfecting his craft in Japan, making defenders look silly with his lightning-quick handles and creative passing. While everyone was focused on his height, he was focusing on turning what they called his weakness into his superpower, playing low to the ground, using angles most guards never even think about. Then came the Olympics, and everything changed. Kawamura exploded onto the international stage, dropping 20 points and 8 assists per game against some serious competition.
He's undersized, but he can see the game and he can play. I mean, you get the pass. I mean, a no-look pass. Jackson came across your screen as a blur going away.
He wasn't just holding his own, he was dominating. The Memphis Grizzlies couldn't ignore what they were seeing. Here was this undersized guard, fearlessly attacking much bigger defenders, threading passes through impossible windows. The Grizzlies decided to take a chance that nobody else would. They brought him in for preseason, and suddenly this 5'8" guard that everybody passed on was standing in an NBA practice facility. Picture this, Kawamura walking into that first practice, looking up at teammates who could practically use his head as an armrest. But you know what's crazy? He wasn't intimidated at all. First day of practice, Kawamura's out there running the offense like he's been there for years. The height difference? Just another challenge to overcome. He's ducking under defenders' arms, finding angles that only someone his size could see. The whole time, everyone's watching, wondering the same thing. Can this guy actually compete at the NBA level? That's what makes this story so wild. All those scouts who said he was too small, they were looking at it all wrong. Being 5'8" wasn't Kawamura's weakness. It was his secret weapon. He learned to use his low center of gravity to create passing lanes that taller guards couldn't even see. While everyone else was trying to play over defenders, he was playing under them, through them, around them. Now we're about to see if all those hours in Japan's B-League, all that Olympic experience, and everything he learned about turning his size into an advantage is going to pay off. But first, let me show you this one play that had everyone in the arena, including Caitlin Clark, absolutely losing their mind. The clock's running down in the first quarter when Kawamura starts his attack. His eyes are locked left, every defender is leaning that way, but his mind, it's already 3 steps ahead of everyone else in the building. What happens next is the kind of play that makes basketball purists lose their mind. Kawamura's dribbling at the top of the key, and this is where it gets wild. While most guards are trying to see over the defense, he's doing something completely different. He's got this ultra low dribble going like he's practically scraping the floor with the ball. And you know what? The defenders have no choice but to bend down to guard him. They're already uncomfortable, having to play way lower than they're used to. But here's where Kawamura's basketball IQ really shows up. Instead of fighting against his height, he's using it to create chaos. While these bigger defenders are bending down, trying to stay with him, he's got a perfect view of passing lanes they can't even see. It's like he's discovered this whole secret universe of passes that exists below everyone's shoulders. You want to know who this reminds me of? Imagine if you took Jason Williams' creativity and mixed it with Steve Nash's precision. That's what we're watching here. But Kawamura is adding his own twist to it. He's not trying to play like a tall guard in a small body. Instead, he's invented this completely new style where being 5'8" is actually an advantage. The defenders think they've got him figured out. They're watching his eyes, convinced they know where the ball's going. But that's exactly what Kawamura wants. While everyone's focused on where he's looking, his hands are telling a completely different story. He's mastered this art of making defenders lean one way while the ball's already headed somewhere else. Watch closely how he sets this whole thing up. He's got that low dribble going. Defenders are hunched over trying to stay with him, and now he's got them exactly where he wants them. Their bodies are tipped forward, their balance is compromised, and they've completely lost track of what's happening behind them. It's pure basketball wizardry, and the best part, the real magic is just about to begin. How does someone who's 5'8" make a pass to someone who's 7'4" with 3 defenders in between? Most players wouldn't even try it. But Kawamura isn't most players, and what happened next left even Caitlin Clark's jaw on the floor. Everything lined up perfectly in that split second. Edey's massive frame is rolling toward the basket, but there's a wall of defenders standing between him and Kawamura. 3 guys, all of them with their arms up, thinking they've got every passing lane covered. From the crowd's view, it looked impossible, like trying to thread a needle while wearing boxing gloves. But Kawamura, he's playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. Right as Edey makes his move, Kawamura does something brilliant. He locks his eyes on the corner shooter, sells it so well that you can see all 3 defenders start leaning that way. Their hands drop just a little. Their weight shifts toward the corner. That's all the space he needs. In a flash, Kawamura's hands tell a different story than his eyes. Without even looking at his target, he whips this pass through the tiniest gap between defenders. It's the kind of pass that makes you rewind the footage just to figure out how it got through. The ball curves around one defender's hip, splits 2 others, and lands right in Edey's hands like it's got GPS tracking. The beautiful part, Edey doesn't even have to adjust. The pass hits him in stride, perfect height for his 7'4" frame to catch and slam it home in one motion. That's when you realize this wasn't just luck. Kawamura had calculated everything. The defender's positions, Edey's stride length, the exact spot where the ball needed to be. For a moment, the whole arena goes dead silent. It's like everyone needs a second to process what they just saw. Then it hits them. This 5'8" guard just executed one of the most ridiculous passes of the preseason. The crowd erupts, the bench jumps up, and even the defenders who got fooled can't help but shake their heads in disbelief. This is what happens when you turn what everyone calls a disadvantage into your superpower. That height difference between Kawamura and Edey, it just created basketball magic, the kind of play that reminds you why we love this game, because sometimes the most unlikely combinations create the most unforgettable moments. While everyone in the arena was processing what they'd just witnessed, one reaction stood out above all others. There, sitting courtside, was someone who'd mastered the art of the no-look pass herself. But what happened next showed even she wasn't ready for this level of magic. You've got to see Caitlin Clark's face when this play unfolded. She's right there courtside, probably expecting to just enjoy a casual preseason game. Instead, she ends up witnessing something that even had her, one of basketball's most creative passers, completely stunned. The camera caught the exact moment when Kawamura's no-look dime hit Edey in stride. Clark's jaw literally drops. This is someone who's made a career out of making defenders look silly with her own no-look passes, but right there, she's just like the rest of us, completely blown away by what she just saw. But it gets better. Watch the replay again, and you'll catch Clark immediately turning to the person next to her, pointing at the court like she needs to make sure they saw what just happened too. It's that universal basketball reaction when you witness something so incredible, you need confirmation from someone else that it really happened. This hits different because Clark isn't just any spectator. She's revolutionized the game with her own passing creativity. When someone like her shows that level of amazement, you know you're watching something special. After the game, she even took time to praise Kawamura's creativity, specifically pointing out how his style can inspire other players who might feel limited by their size. Think about that for a second. One of college basketball's most dynamic playmakers, someone who's broken nearly every passing record in the books, is sitting there marveling at this 5'8" guard's vision and creativity. That's not just a cool moment, that's basketball recognizing basketball regardless of size, regardless of background. It's like watching a magic trick that fools other magicians. Sure, the crowd's amazement is great, but when you can impress someone who knows all the secrets, that's when you know you've done something truly extraordinary. And that's exactly what Kawamura did. He made one of basketball's best passers feel like a fan again, if only for a moment. You know what's beautiful about basketball? Every now and then, someone comes along and completely flips the script on what we think is possible. Kawamura is doing exactly that. He's not just playing in the NBA, he's changing how we think about size in basketball. That pass to Edey wasn't just about connecting with a teammate, it was a statement to every kid who's been told they're too small to play. Kawamura is showing us that basketball isn't about measuring up, it's about finding your own way to make an impact. When you watch him play, you realize that true greatness isn't measured in feet and inches. It's measured by how you use whatever gifts you've got.